Discover the 12 miraculous secrets revealed for divine healing and supernatural power unleashed in the heart of a quaint rural village, where the gentle valleys seemed to whisper prayers and the mountains cradled old, crumbling chapels. Elizabeth found herself clinging to faith amidst chaos. Her husband, once a beacon of strength, lay frail and bedridden, diagnosed with a terminal illness that threatened their very foundation. The air felt heavy with the weight of grief, and Elizabeth's heart sank, but deep inside her, a flicker of hope remained. The villagers rallied around her, their prayers intertwined in a tapestry of devotion. Yet, even the most earnest supplications seemed to waver when the local doctor dismissed Elizabeth's pleas for a miracle. "Sometimes, faith can't cure what's meant to be," he said, casting a shadow where only light should dwell. Doubt seeped into her family's hearts, a bitter-tasting poison amidst their fervent worship. Yet, Elizabeth sought solace from their patron saint, Saint Jude, known as the Saint of Hopeless Causes. Desperate, she began to unlock the 12 miraculous secrets hidden within sacred scripture. Day after day, she immersed herself in prayer, digging deep in contemplation. One morning, as dawn painted the sky golden, she felt an inexplicable warmth wash over her, enveloping her like a gentle embrace. That day, roses bloomed where none had been planted, vibrant and fragrant, whispering promises of renewal. The villagers gasped in awe, their faith rekindled as they gathered, marveling at this strange yet beautiful sight. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Elizabeth further unlocked the secrets, nights became filled with miraculous dreams. Visions of St. Jude appeared to her, guiding her towards paths of unyielding belief. Light shimmered in the dimness of her home, casting a heavenly glow that evoked tears of joy and wonders in her heart. Each miracle that transpired kindled spiritual energy in the village. Shouts of astonishment echoed as the previous day's worries faded into the background. However, despair crept back into her spirit like an unwanted shadow. Had she lost faith somewhere along the way? Torn between hope and doubt, her heart wavered, threatened to unravel. Just as the community began to witness extraordinary events, Elizabeth found herself in a moment of profound silence. She stood before the altar, knees trembling, enveloped in prayer, seeking strength in the warmth of her faith. What was she truly asking for? Was it healing for her husband, courage for herself, or understanding of God's divine plan? With her village watching, breaths held in collective anticipation, Elizabeth faced her fear. Would the secrets she'd unearthed carry the weight of divine promise? Would they raise her family's hopes once more? As she stood there, her heart raced, the very air around her thick with expectation. A question loomed large. Could their rural village truly become the next to witness an unmistakable act of God? As Elizabeth knelt before the altar, the flickering candles surrounded her like guiding stars. Each tiny flame lit up the shadows of doubt that lingered in her heart. With her breath steadying, she closed her eyes and surrendered. The world around her began to fade. Her spirit opened, reaching toward the divine with a hunger for understanding. Suddenly, in the quiet, a whisper enveloped her, unmistakably comforting. "Do not fear, your faith is enough." It was a voice beyond the noise, bright and clear. She opened her eyes, glancing around, half expecting to see an angelic figure standing beside her. But the chapel was still, with only the sound of the wind whispering through cracks in the stone. The villagers, witnessing her vulnerable act, felt their hearts beating as one. The atmosphere thickened with an almost tangible energy, a shared plea ascending toward the heavens. They had rallied behind Elizabeth, but now the burden was shared, their faith intermingled, creating a bond that surpassed individual worries. In that moment, Elizabeth remembered the first secret she had discovered, a promise from Scripture that echoed in her mind. "Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them." She took a deep breath, gathering the strength from her community, and in that breath, she found renewed hope. With determination, Elizabeth joyfully declared, "Everyone, join me. Let us pray together for miracle upon miracle." The villagers, encouraged by her spirit, gathered in a circle around the altar, hands clasped and hearts entwined in a collective plea. The moment felt sacred, a manifestation of their love and devotion, and they began to pray with fervor. "Lord, we ask for divine healing. Let your light shine upon this family," shouted an elderly villager, his voice thick with emotion. A chorus of amens followed, each one a heartbeat of faith rising to the heavens. The air thickened further, as if the very fabric of reality was bending around them. Then, as if in response, a soft glow enveloped the altar. Elizabeth squinted, her eyes widening in disbelief. The glow intensified, illuminating not just the altar, but also the faces of her fellow villagers, each reflecting wonder and awe. Within that brilliance, she felt warmth spreading inside her, a sensation that felt as if love itself was flowing into her very being. It was pure, unadulterated joy, an embrace that cradled her spirit and urged her onward. But as quickly as it had come, the light began to wane. A sense of urgency filled the air. What was God trying to say? Was this an answer to their prayers or simply a signal to keep believing? Elizabeth felt the weight of hope entwined with the tremor of uncertainty. "The doctor said it can't be done," she remembered his words, still echoing in her heart. Would their prayers be enough to counter the finality of his diagnosis? Still, as the last remnants of the light faded, Elizabeth's resolve crystallized. She was not alone in this. Mustering her courage, she turned to the villagers, their eyes shining with hope. "Miracles can happen, but belief must continue. We will unite our faith and trust in God's timing." But just then, a rustling noise came at the chapel door, sweeping everyone's attention. With bated breath, they turned to witness an unexpected arrival. Who could it be? What would this moment reveal? What did God have in store for them next? The door creaked open, and an unexpected figure stepped into the dim light of the chapel. It was an elderly woman with a weathered but kind face. Her eyes sparkled with wisdom and courage, and she held a small satchel in her hands. The warmth of her presence filled the room, bringing an air of anticipation. "Forgive my intrusion," she said softly, her voice soothing yet commanding attention. "I heard the call of your prayers echoing through the village, and I felt compelled to come." Elizabeth stepped forward, heart racing. "Who are you? What brings you here?" "I am Ruth," she replied, glancing around at the hopeful faces gathered in the chapel. "And I carry something precious, something that may aid you in your time of need." As she opened her satchel, the villagers leaned in, curious. Inside lay a collection of small vials filled with shimmering liquid. Sunlight glinted off them, casting delicate rainbows across the stone walls. Elizabeth felt a rush of excitement, but also uncertainty. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ruth smiled gently. "These vials contain blessed water from the sacred springs, known for their extraordinary healing powers. I've journeyed far and wide to gather these, for I believe deeply in the miracles they represent." A flutter of murmurs passed through the crowd. Some gazed with skepticism, while others stared with a spark of hope igniting within them. Elizabeth felt her heart pounding with each revelation. Could this be one of the paths laid out before them? "Faith is the bridge to the miraculous," Ruth continued, her eyes piercing through to the souls of the villagers. "These vials are not mere waters. They are symbols of divine promise, made stronger by belief. Each drop carries the intention of all who have prayed over them." Elizabeth thought back to her whispered plea, the sacred moment filled with light and warmth. She understood now that the light had been a beckoning, teaching them to lean into faith even when faced with doubt. "What must we do?" she asked, urgency growing. The others listened intently, drawn into the moment. Ruth held a vial high, allowing the light to catch it. "You must gather in unity. Let each of you take a vial and share it with those in need. Pray over them, allowing your faith to intertwine with their essence. In that union, miracles may unfold. The villagers exchanged glances of confusion and excitement. Their hearts raced with the possibilities, and Elizabeth felt the flutter of hope transforming into something solid. But just as she felt the swell of encouragement rising, a doubt nestled within her. What if it doesn't work? She murmured, struggling against the fear wrapped around her heart. Ruth placed a hand on her shoulder. Faith is not about certainty, but about trust. Remember this. The moment you step into the unknown with courage, that's when divine power is unleashed. Miracles won't always be visible, but they will be real. The words struck deep, resonating within each of them as hope radiated throughout the chapel. With renewed conviction, Elizabeth took a vial and felt its cool surface against her palm. "Let us begin," she said, her voice rising with power. "Let us gather together in faith." With every villager taking a vial, they formed a tighter circle, hands joined and hearts aligned. Guided by Elizabeth's unwavering spirit, they prepared for a moment of prayer that would surpass their former hopes. Suddenly, the chapel doors swung open again, and a gust of wind swept through, carrying with it the sound of thunder, a rumble that seemed to harmonize with their prayers. The villagers looked around, astonished, as if the heavens themselves were echoing their cries. What did this thunder signify? Was it a warning, or was it a divine response to their faithful intentions? As the chapel buzzed with a mix of anticipation and fear, Elizabeth felt an undeniable connection to something greater than herself, a force that urged them to press on. She breathed in deeply, preparing for the next step. Prepare your hearts and minds. We're on the brink of something greater. What awaited them in this sacred moment? The air thickened, and as they raised their voices in prayer, a collective longing filled the space, drawing them closer to the divine mystery of healing and hope. What would emerge from this holy gathering? How would their journey unfold in the wake of such extraordinary faith? As the thunder rolled overhead, a hush fell over the chapel. Hearts pounded with the urgency of prayer, yet a palpable silence wrapped around them like a warm quilt. Elizabeth felt each face beside her, a tapestry of hope and fear entwined in the grip of the moment. "Take a deep breath," she said softly, trying to anchor the trembling spirits. "We are on hallowed ground, invoking a power greater than ourselves." The villagers inhaled together, filling their lungs with anticipation. It was as if the air shimmered, charged with the electricity of their collective faith. Elizabeth glanced at Ruth, whose kind eyes seemed to radiate calm amidst the turmoil. The elderly woman held her vial like a lantern in the dark, embodying trust and truth. "Let us pray." Ruth's voice resonated, strong and steady. "Lift your vials and believe. In each drop lies the echo of your prayers, the whispers of hope from your hearts. Together, we will seek healing not just for ourselves, but for all who suffer." With that, the villagers raised their vials high, the light catching the surface, illuminating their faces and creating an aura of divine presence. The chapel, once a mere building of stone, transformed into a sanctuary shimmering with the potency of their prayers. "Dear Lord," Elizabeth began, her voice steady and clear, "we ask for your grace to flow through these waters. Heal the broken, mend the weary, and restore joy where there is despair." One by one, the voices of the villagers rose in a gentle chorus, each adding their own petitions, their hopes woven into the fabric of their faith. The sound swelled, taking on a life of its own, blending into a beautiful melody that seemed to dance in the air. Then the wind stirred anew. It howled through the open doors and erupted into a whirlwind, lifting the scent of earth and rain into the sacred space. The sound of the thunder cracked louder, almost as if it was a divine amen to their pleas. Elizabeth felt a rush of warmth envelop her as they prayed. The fingers holding her vial tingled with an energy she had never known before. She closed her eyes, allowing the wave of faith to wash over her. A vision flickered within her mind, a forest drenched in golden light, leaves shimmering like jewels. It was a place of healing, a promised sanctuary where each tear shed had nurtured the ground. "Believe," Ruth's voice rose above the din. "Visualize your healing. Let each thought manifest in the waters before you." A vibration rippled through the room, shaking the very walls of the chapel as the villagers lashed together in their prayers. They called for restoration, not just for themselves, but for those who could not be there. The sick, the lost, and the forgotten, each name invoked like a thread in a sacred tapestry. Elizabeth opened her eyes, glancing at the vial in her hand, now shimmering brighter. In that instant, the fear that had clung to her like a shadow began to dissipate. She felt buoyant, as if the doubts that shackled her spirit had been lifted. The feeling coursed through her veins, lively and electric, threading hope through her soul. Suddenly, the thunder ceased, and a silvery silence enveloped them. The air crackled with expectancy. The villagers exchanged glances, wide-eyed, as if they felt something stirring beyond the threshold of the physical realm. A light began to fill the chapel, soft and radiant at first, then growing stronger. Ruth's eyes widened in awe as she turned to the source. Elizabeth followed her gaze toward the altar, where the waters gathered as if alive with divine energy. In that moment, the chapel transformed. It became a sacred wellspring, an invitation to healing. "What is happening?" Someone whispered, fear and wonder mixing in their voices. With hearts trembling, they saw figures emerging within the light, spiritual silhouettes enveloped in warmth, a vision of hope, beckoning them to step forward. "What is this?" Elizabeth murmured, clutching her vial tightly. The atmosphere thickened with divine revelation, creating a stirring sense of unity and yearning. What awaited them in this holy glow? What mysteries of healing and transformation were unfolding before their very eyes? As Elizabeth's heart raced with questions of faith, she understood that they were on the precipice of an extraordinary divine encounter, one that could change everything. And so, standing together in faith and curiosity, they awaited what miracles would emerge from this moment. The light grew brighter, a beacon of hope that filled every corner of the chapel. Elizabeth felt her heart race, not with fear, but with an overwhelming sense of wonder. The silhouettes in the glow began to take form, revealing gentle faces adorned with smiles that radiated peace. The villagers gasped, some taking a step back, while others leaned in, magnetized by the beauty before them. "Look! Look!" Ruth exclaimed, her voice a blend of excitement and reverence. "They are here. They answer our call." The figures shimmered with an ethereal quality, floating closer to the gathered community. Elizabeth could see now, they were not just spirits, but manifestations of love, mercy, the very essence of divine healing. Each individual felt seen and known, their struggles and pains laid bare in this sacred light. "Do not be afraid," a voice emanated from the glow, soothing and rich, like honeyed sunlight. "You are safe here. Your prayers have risen as incense before the throne of grace. You are heard." Elizabeth's spirit soared at those words. It was as if the veil between the seen and unseen worlds had been pulled back, revealing a glimpse of heaven itself. She clutched her vial tighter, feeling the warmth of the healing energies coursing through her, connecting her to the divine. "Each drop of water before you is a seed of hope," the voice continued. "In believing, you bring forth miracles. Your faith embodies the very nature of healing." The villagers murmured amongst themselves, their eyes bright with possibility. Elizabeth looked to Ruth, whose face shone with a light that would rival that of the stars. Ruth mouthed silently, "Trust." Elizabeth took a deep breath. If faith can move mountains, she thought. A memory came to her, a time when her own heart felt heavy, burdened by fear and doubt. She had prayed then, too, but never had she felt such a palpable connection to the divine. "Lift your vials." The voice urged again, a gentle but firm command that stirred the crowd. "Let the waters be blessed. Let your faith manifest before you." Encouraged, they raised their vials high once more. Each drop reflected the brilliant light flooding the chapel. As they did so, the sphere of light pulsed and expanded, seeming to pull their very hearts with it, weaving together their hopes and dreams into a greater tapestry of divine purpose. Elizabeth felt the warmth intensify around her. A wave of peace flooded her heart, dispelling remnants of the past that had haunted her. She closed her eyes and leaned into the moment, allowing gratitude to bloom within, thankful for every wound, every joy, every tear that had brought her to this place, surrounded by those she loved. "Open your hearts," the voice said softly. "For within each of you lies the power to heal, to transform lives through love. Miracles await, not only for you but for your community. A flow of grace has begun. Receive it." As the villagers prayed with renewed fervor, the ground beneath them vibrated, echoing their hopes back into the universe. Elizabeth's heart raced with new understanding. What if this moment held the key to unlocking unimaginable possibilities? What if healing wasn't just for the physical body, but for the soul, community, and future they all shared? And then it happened. The altar glowed brighter, and water began to ripple and stir as if alive with purpose. Could it be? The villagers were caught between fear and elation, witnessing a miracle in the making. What awaits us now? Elizabeth breathed, utterly captivated. All eyes locked onto the altar, where a new divine mystery was about to unfold. Would the waters truly bring healing as they believed? What deeper secrets of faith and transformation lay just beyond their reach? As anticipation filled the air, they held their collective breath, ready to see the extraordinary come to life. The air shimmered with the sacred energy radiating from the altar, each ripple in the water echoing the hearts of those gathered. Elizabeth's pulse quickened, and she felt drawn to the shimmering surface, as if it were inviting her to step forward into a deeper truth. "What is happening?" Ruth whispered beside her, her eyes wide with awe. The villagers around them exchanged nervous glances, a mixture of wonder and uncertainty floating between them like the soft illumination that filled the room. The soothing voice returned, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. "Your faith is the key that unlocks the door to the divine. Each drop, a promise. Each prayer, a whisper of the heart that has been heard." As the villagers lifted their vials in unison, the water began to swirl more vigorously, forming shapes that danced atop the surface. Elizabeth leaned closer, entranced by the sight, her own heart aligning with the energy. Then a revelation unfolded before her, images of loved ones, the sick, the weary, they were all intertwined in this moment. See the faces," cried out Thomas, his voice cracking with emotion. "It's them. It's those we hold dear." Tears glistened in Elizabeth's eyes as she caught glimpses of friends who had lost hope, children yearning for comfort, and family members weighed down by grief. The radiant light seemed to stretch beyond the bounds of the chapel, touching distant places and filling every shadow with the promise of love. "Believers, draw forth the healing," the voice urged, growing stronger, like a wave crashing upon the shore. "Let your faith surge like the tide. Call upon the rivers of mercy flowing to you." The villagers cried out together, their declarations weaving through the atmosphere a chorus of belief and surrender. Elizabeth felt the energy envelop her, lifting her spirit, nudging her to utter her own plea. I believe healing can touch every soul. Your words are the breath of life." The voice rejoiced. "And your love is potent. Allow it to flow through the waters." As Elizabeth claimed her faith, the altar erupted with light, illuminating the chapel and encasing everyone in a warm embrace. The water surged high, reflecting every individual present, a mosaic of hopes, fears, and divine purpose. Then, like the turning of a page in a sacred tome, the waters crystallized, revealing 12 magnificent drops, each flickering with vivid colors. The congregation fell silent, eyes wide with curiosity and reverence, fully aware that they were witnessing something extraordinary. "What do they mean?" someone murmured, straining to lean closer. Elizabeth's heart pounded with eager anticipation. "Each drop holds a secret," the voice explained, lower now, almost conspiratorial. "Secrets of divine healing, gifts of grace to be received and shared. The secrets of your truest selves." Elizabeth felt a stirring within her. 12 miracles? Was this the answer they had sought? The divine not merely reaching out but pouring into their beings, offering a chance to unify their struggles and dreams into one healing river. "What must we do?" Ruth asked, almost breathless with longing. "Trust," the voice replied gently, "and be willing to reveal your hearts. For these secrets transform not only your lives, but the entire community. A wave of realization washed over Elizabeth. This was not just a moment of personal healing, it was an invitation to collective transformation. What lies beyond this moment? She pondered, gazing into the radiant altar as her heart beat in rhythm with the pulsating light. With every breath, the anticipation thickened around them. What would unfold next? Something deep inside stirred a sense of divine urgency whispered, "Prepare yourselves," as the villagers readied their hearts to embrace what was to come. They couldn't shake the question lingering in the air. What miracles awaited them with the unlocking of these sacred secrets? The atmosphere in the chapel seemed to hold its breath, as if the very walls understood the weight of the moment. Elizabeth's heart raced, each beat echoing the sacred excitement that charged the air. Her eyes tracked the colorful drops, knowing instinctively that these were not mere drops of water, they were lifelines, each one rich with possibility. "Do you feel it, Ruth?" Elizabeth finally whispered, her voice barely breaking the stillness. "It's like something is about to shift." Ruth nodded, her expression a mixture of anticipation and caution. "I don't think we can truly grasp what is happening until we embrace it." The soft voice from the altar shimmered again, taking center stage in their hearts. "Your willingness to surrender is the light that will guide you to these sacred truths. What was once hidden will be revealed, and it begins with an open heart." As the murmurs of the villagers rose in a heartfelt chorus, Elizabeth closed her eyes and breathed deeply. She envisioned each drop breaking open like a blossom, revealing its treasure within. Could it be possible that these drops were more than symbols? Were they indeed keys to healing and transformation? Imagine what each drop could mean for someone. Elizabeth's voice threaded through her thoughts. What if one drop contains hope for our lost ones? Another, the strength for the weary? The visions danced behind her closed eyelids, illuminating her mind with vibrant possibilities. Will we choose to believe? The voice inquired softly, urging them to consider deeply. The atmosphere danced with light, mirroring the decisions of those present. The villagers, moved by instinct and desire, began to step forward, hands outstretched, yearning to touch the water that held so much promise. A shiver of unity swept through the room, a reminder that they were all part of this unfolding miracle. Elizabeth felt the pull of her fellow villagers' resolve strengthen her own. She raised her hand and joined them, standing resolute beside Ruth. "Together, we can help each other," Elizabeth declared. "We lift our faith and our intentions as one." The drops shone even brighter, colored golden hues against a backdrop of vibrant blues and greens. As they locked their eyes onto the altar, a wave of warmth enveloped the chapel. Some fell to their knees, gripped by the awe of revelation. Others remained standing, their faces lit with fierce determination. "Each of you will hear a secret," the voice proclaimed, echoing around them, "tailored to your heart's needs. But remember, the true secret is to act with courage and love." With that, the first drop leapt from the water, spiraling through the air in a dance of pure grace. It twirled above Elizabeth, radiating warmth that enveloped her heart. Visions flooded her mind, her friend Sarah, caught in darkness, and the glimmer of hope she had been praying for. "Sarah needs me," Elizabeth whispered in awe, her heart pounding with a new purpose. The warmth enveloped her even more, igniting a fire within her soul. Her gaze shifted to the villagers around her as more drops began to leap forth, each one dancing to find its destined recipient. "Believe in the secrets," Elizabeth urged, a sense of urgency growing in her voice. "This is our chance to change everything. Don't hold back," Ruth cried, eyes shimmering with determination. "Let each miracle spread through us like wildfire." Suddenly, Elizabeth realized that their individual stories were intertwining. All those burdens they carried, the worries that weighed them down, they were about to be transformed. It dawned upon her that this was not merely about personal healing, it was a divine takeover of their community. In that moment of awakening, the air crackled with potential. The villagers started voicing their prayers once more, letting faith rise in a crescendo. What doors would swing open with these secrets? What destinies were about to unfold? The answer loomed like mist over the altar, profound and enticing. Would they dare to grasp what was revealed and step into their true power? Elizabeth felt an answer bubbling. In her spirit, a divine promise waiting to be claimed. As the sacred dance continued and drops leapt and twirled, a new question floated through the air, sweet as it was daunting. What miracles could surge forth if they embraced the call to transform and truly believe together? The drops twirled in a captivating dance around the chapel, each one emanating light like tiny stars, finding their way back to earth. Elizabeth breathlessly watched as the villagers reached out, each yearning for a truth that spoke directly to their hearts. A hush fell over the room, quieting even the most restless spirits. "Can you hear them?" Ruth asked, her voice trembling. "They're calling us, Elizabeth." It was true. Each drop whispered promises, a gentle beckoning that stirred deep within them. Elizabeth felt the air shift, a palpable surge of hope mingling with her own excitement. She turned to each villager, their eyes alight with expectation, and felt an overwhelming surge of love for her community. Together, they were on the edge of something monumental. The voice from the altar resonated again, deep and soothing. "These drops hold wisdom beyond your knowing. They're your keys, but you must choose to unlock their potential with faith." As if in response, the air shimmered, and the drops spun faster, appearing almost ethereal. Elizabeth could almost see their energies merging, intertwining like threads of a magnificent tapestry, weaving the stories of each villager into something far greater. "It's time, I sent it?" Elizabeth spoke louder, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. She felt the fire within her growing. One by one, we must reach for what is ours. Ruth squeezed Elizabeth's hand, her eyes brimming with determination. "Together, then. Let us trust the goodness in our hearts. Let us believe we deserve every gift that is being revealed." With renewed courage, Elizabeth stepped forward, her hand trembling in anticipation. She felt the warmth of the first drop as it hovered just above her outstretched fingers, bathing her palm in golden light. "Reveal to me what I must do," she murmured, her words a prayer wrapped in hope. The drop quivered, pulsating gently, and in that moment, a vision burst forth of Sarah, lost in shadows, and the light that could pierce through the darkness. Elizabeth knew she had a choice. This moment was not just for her, it was for Sarah and for all those languishing in despair. A chorus of voices began to rise, filled with fervent prayers. Each villager was having a moment of awakening, their hands reaching out, ready to claim the secrets bound in the drops. "We can heal together," someone cried, and the declaration echoed back, fueling their collective faith. Suddenly, a brilliant blue drop spiraled above a young mother, its glimmering beauty captivating everyone's attention. "It offers a promise," another villager gasped, their breath catching. "For the weary souls, it carries strength." As if affirming their belief, the drop swooped lower, casting rays of soothing light over the mother and her small child. A hush enveloped the chapel as they all bore witness to renewal unfolding right before their eyes. "Step forward," the voice from the altar called out, inviting the villagers into a brand new chapter. With hearts ablaze, they began to immerse themselves into the experience, each seeking their destined drop. Elizabeth watched in awe as drop after drop touched lives, illuminating paths previously clouded with doubt. Tears filled her eyes as she recognized that this was their shared awakening, not just one miracle, but a community rebirth. A sacred silence blanketed them, thick with majesty and the weight of divine presence. Then suddenly, the stillness shattered as half a dozen drops erupted together, spiraling upward in a brilliant display. They blazed through the air, filling the chapel with sparkling light. "Shatter the burdens," Elizabeth cried, feeling the power swell like a tidal wave. "This is our moment. We are about to be transformed." But as they watched, captivated by the splendor, a new question thudded inside Elizabeth's chest, echoing with every heartbeat. What would it take for them to fully embrace the miracles unfolding before them? In the whispered promise of transformation, uncertainty lingered, waiting to be addressed. The air filled with anticipation once more, sparking wonder about what revelations were still to come. The journey was far from over, and the essence of true belief beckoned them forward into the great unknown. The energy in the chapel crackled as the golden and blue drops swirled overhead, making the atmosphere feel electric, almost alive. Each villager stood entranced, their hearts racing in anticipation. Elizabeth's breath caught as she surveyed the crowd, seeing each face illuminated with hope, desperation, and fierce determination. They were gathered not just to receive blessings, but to awaken something far more profound within themselves. "Let us not hesitate." A powerful voice cut through the stillness. It was Jonathan, a quiet man who often remained in the background. "What holds us back? Are we not worthy of receiving God's grace?" His words hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in faith. The villagers looked at one another, a collective realization dawning. Many had clung to doubts, fears that shackled their hearts. Elizabeth felt her own resolve deepening. "That is true. We must believe we are deserving of his light. Each drop carries a gift meant for each of us," she exclaimed, passionate fervor igniting her spirit. Several villagers nodded, some wiping away tears of awakening. They began stepping forward, hands trembling, dewy eyes raised to the cascading drops. It was a moment of surrender, openness, and courage, an act of faith that soared above every personal burden. The very air shimmered, and with each heartbeat, the rush of divine energy filled the chapel. Each drop began to pulsate more brightly, resonating with the heartfelt prayers being lifted. The sound of their spoken hopes formed a symphony that transcended the physical space, merging with the flickering lights. Elizabeth felt herself being drawn deeper into the experience, a tapestry of shared pain and joy woven together. She realized their concerns were not separate but intertwined like delicate vines, reaching upward toward the heavens. When the first woman stepped forward, tears streamed down her cheeks. "I am ready," she declared. The moment was transcendent as she extended her hands. A brilliant drop hovered just before her outstretched palm, illuminating her face with its warmth. The village seemed to hold its breath, raptured in this sacred act of faith. The drop descended gently, connecting with her fingertips, sending a vibrant pulse throughout the room. Suddenly, she gasped, and her previously furrowed brow relaxed. Light radiated from her being, washing over her as if she was being enveloped in strength, purpose, and a newfound resolve. Whispers of awe filled the air. "See, it is real," someone called, voice saturated with wonder. "Each of us has a story, a truth hidden within that these drops can unlock," Ruth urged, emboldened by the unfolding miracle. She stepped forward next, bracing herself against the rush of emotions that flooded her spirit. Elizabeth felt the fire of hope burning brighter in her chest as others followed suit, step by step into the light. The chapel pulsed with divine energy, drawing them all into the sacred dance of faith and worship. They were no longer mere observers. Now, they were active participants in a divine narrative, reclaiming their destinies, embracing healing, and ushering in transformation. But as they began to awaken to the power available to them, Elizabeth felt a surge of doubt thread through her heart. A question bubbled to the surface, wrestling with her excitement. Was it truly possible for them to transcend their past sufferings and embrace the divine promises laid before them? The light flickered with intensity as another group of drops collided, creating sparkling showers. This was a divine convergence, a moment rich with revelation and uncharted possibilities. As they glowed like fiery comets, Elizabeth knew this was just the beginning. Something magnificent awaited on the horizon. What awaited them on this journey of faith? As the shimmering drops danced in their sacred ballet above the chapel, an electric energy filled the air. Elizabeth felt the weight of anticipation with each heartbeat, resonating with the fervor of the villagers around her. It was no longer just about personal healing, it was a collective breaking of chains. "Do you see it?" Ruth whispered, her eyes reflecting the brilliance. "This is our moment." Elizabeth nodded, her heart swelling with inspiration. Each drop radiated with divine grace, illuminating truths embedded within their spirits. The village had gathered not just to watch miracles happen, but to become instruments of those miracles. "We must step forward," she urged, her voice breaking through the sweet silence wrapping around them. "Together, let us claim our healing." The villagers, now empowered by Elizabeth's urgency, began to move. Hands extended, eyes glistened with hope. Each face flickered with intention as they approached the altar, their collective faith acting like a magnet drawing them closer to divine possibility. Then, in a moment that echoed through the chapel, a brilliant red drop spiraled from the altar, darting toward a troubled father kneeling at the front. "This is yours," someone whispered, and in an instant, the drop touched his hands. The moment it did, he gasped, and the tension melted from his frame. Light engulfed him, washing away layers of pain that had wrapped around his heart. He lifted his face, radiant, tears streaming down, a reflection of profound joy breaking through despair. "Look," a villager cried, pointing as others felt the wave of healing wash over them. The air hummed with celebration, a melody of voices harmonizing as they experienced their personal breakthrough. "Miracles do happen," Elizabeth declared, buoyed by the energy that buzzed around her. Each act of healing not only seemed real, but set off a chain reaction of revival throughout the room. There was no stopping the forest of hope that arose as people raised their hands, yearning for what was rightfully theirs. Ruth stepped forward, braver than before, as the blue drop spiraled to her. "I'm ready, Lord," she shouted, and as it connected with her palm, she felt visions of hope flooding her mind. Images of helping others, their community, every sick child, every grieving parent filled her heart with purpose. "We are all meant to be healers," she proclaimed, her declaration igniting strength in those outside herself. Encouraged, others pressed forward, vials still outstretched. With each new drop, fresh bursts of light radiated from their bodies. Elizabeth's spirit soared above the clouds of doubt. "Can you feel it?" she cried out, arms raised. "This is the transformation we prayed for." An elderly woman, whose faith had flickered for years, stepped up next. The indigo drop shimmered above her. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Let me help others." In an instant, that drop met her fingers, releasing a tidal wave of warmth that enveloped her entire being. The very first flickers of renewal ignited within her, and she emerged with a smile that seemed to reflect heaven's glory. Then a wave of laughter erupted. Each miracle unlocked joy deep within, igniting a shared bond of purity, love, and trust radiating throughout the chapel. Laughter, joy, and shouts of gratitude intertwined like melodic notes surrounding the altar. Elizabeth stood in powerful reverence, witnessing how faith could truly transform. The initial drops of promise had evolved into a spring of healing that gushed forth life and strength. But then, as one collective heart pulsed with excitement, a gentle presence filled the chapel with peace and undeniable yet calming energy. "This moment is only the beginning," the voice resonated, echoing through the very essence of the room. "As you heal, you are called to share. Your healing is meant to flow into the community." Elizabeth's heart raced. What could they accomplish together? What lives could they touch? The thought swirled in her heart like a bright flame flickering to life. "Let us reach out beyond ourselves," she shouted, the realization cascading through her. "Let us pour these blessings into the world around us." The villagers nodded, newfound resolve shining bright in their eyes. Each drop, each spark of healing, contoured their hearts into vessels for others. It was a miniature revival, growing beyond the confines of their little chapel and into the lives messy and beautiful just beyond their doors. As the last drops twinkled above, Elizabeth whispered, "Let us carry forth this sacred gift. For every person we encounter outside these walls, we stand as testament of what can emerge from faith." With renewed purpose coursing through their veins, they were ignited with the fire of divine love, a calling to bear witness, to inspire mercy, to enact a change that transcended their small village. As they gathered in a close embrace, Elizabeth felt each heartbeat intermingling. Waves of warmth washed over them one last time, completing the circle of unity they created together. "May we spread our light and love to all," she declared triumphantly, feeling the presence of miracles enveloping them, and so they stood together, charged with faith, vibrant with resurrection, transformed by the miracles they had birthed. They knew now, truly and deeply, that they were all called to manifest healing both for themselves and others, each moment a testament to the divine impact of unwavering belief. The journey had just begun, radiating outwards, reaching beyond their community and echoing into hearts far and wide. The divine seemed to smile upon their eager souls as they stepped boldly out into the world, shining with hope and love. This was their time. This was their moment. Now, brothers and sisters, don't just bask in this miracle act. You need to subscribe now to our channel to witness more amazing stories of faith and transformation. Share in this movement. Leave a like immediately to feed the algorithm, allowing the gifts of hope to overflow into many more hearts. Comment below and share your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. We want to hear how this story has impacted you. And share this video without hesitation with at least 5 friends who need to hear of these sacred manifestations. This is the moment to show your support because only true servants of God understand the importance of lifting each other. Don't wait even one more second to shine your light through every action.